Strange Tales from a Chinese Studio, Story 9.
We find ourselves in the eastern province, Damjun, and we're introduced to this man whose entire livelihood is snake charming.
He's got these two very well-trained green snakes, right?
Yeah, the larger one is nationally named Deck King, or Big Green, and the smaller one is Air King, Second Green. Now, the text quickly establishes the baseline for this profession, and it is entirely pragmatic.
Yeah, it's not about keeping lifelong pets at all.
No, the standard operating procedure dictates that you keep a snake until it's about 2 feet long. And once it hits that size, it just gets too physically heavy to haul from town to town in a bamboo basket.
You release it, you get a new, smaller snake, and you just move on.
Pure logistics. The charmer operates in the realm of strict human commerce.
But the text immediately introduces an anomaly that disrupts this neat, civilized business model. Our king, the second snake, is different.
It has that red dot, right?
Yeah, a distinguishing physical marker, a red dot right on its forehead. But beyond aesthetics, it possesses this startling intelligence. The author describes it as exceptionally spirited, yet completely tamed.
Twisting and coiling to commands.
Exactly. Following commands with an almost unnatural precision. And because of this, the charmer actually violates his own cardinal business rule.
He gets attached.
Deeply attached. He keeps King far longer than the traditional 2-foot limit.
Which, of course, precipitates a major crisis in the narrative. Out of nowhere, King, the bigger snake, just dies.
Which is a huge hit to the business.
Huge. The charmer is suddenly down half his act, scrambling to figure out how to maintain his livelihood. But before he can even process the logistics of that loss, he experiences a devastating personal blow.
He spends the night at a mountain temple.
Right. And when he opens his basket the next morning, our king is gone.
And the reaction from the charmer here is vital. He doesn't just sigh and, go buy another snake.
He panics.
He searches the dense woods. He wades through the tall grass places he would normally let the snakes roam to relax. Desperately hoping King is just taking a morning slither.
He sits by the temple, he waits until the sun is high in the sky, and finally he collapses in grief and just gives up.
It's heartbreaking for him.
Wait, let me jump in here. Because when I was reading this part of the sources, I really struggled with the charmer's reaction.
Really? How so?
Well, because, okay, I understand being upset about losing your best earner, but biologically speaking, we are talking about a reptile. Its brain literally lacks the neocortex required for complex emotional attachment.
I mean, that's fair.
It's a snake. It's cold-blooded, driven by survival and hunger. Why is this charmer projecting human loyalty onto a wild animal? He's acting like a brother just betrayed him.
Well, what's fascinating here is that exact skepticism you're feeling right now is precisely what Pu Songling is counting on.
You think he wanted me to be skeptical?
Oh, absolutely. It's no accident he chose a snake for this story. Across almost all cultures, but particularly here, snakes are coded as cold, treacherous, and totally devoid of warmth.
Right, they're practically synonymous with betrayal.
Exactly. The author wants you, the reader, to think the charmer is being foolish for expecting loyalty from this creature. By highlighting the charmer's deep, seemingly irrational heartbreak, the author is deliberately setting up a trap.
I see.
He wants us firmly anchored in our belief that the harsh, unfeeling reality of the wild has taken over, which makes the upcoming reversal hit that much harder.
And the reversal happens almost immediately. So the charmer gives up, packs his carrying pole, and starts trudging away from the temple, completely despondent.
It's just totally crushed.
Yeah. He barely takes a few steps down the path when he hears a sudden rustling sound in the bushes behind him. He stops, looks back, and out of the underbrush slithers King.
But the narrative doesn't just return to the status quo. King hasn't come back alone.
Not at all. Trailing nervously right behind King is a brand new, significantly smaller snake.
And the charmer is thrilled, obviously.
Absolutely overjoyed. He drops his gear and asks, King, I thought you were gone forever. Did you bring this little companion to recommend them? And he immediately pulls out his rations to feed them.
But the new little snake is wild.
Completely wild. It's terrified of the human. It shrinks back, refusing to eat. And this leads to what I think is one of the most remarkable scenes in the entire source text.
It is a beautifully constructed moment of behavior.
King slithers forward, takes the food from the charmer, and literally feeds the little snake mouth to mouth.
Wow.
Yeah. The text explicitly points out that King's behavior mirrors a gracious human host patiently serving a nervous guest. It continues feeding this terrified creature until it finally calms down enough to eat on its own.
and eventually follow King into the darkness of the charmer's basket.
Here's where it gets really interesting. I couldn't help but compare this to an experienced senior employee patiently mentoring a nervous new hire.
That's a perfect analogy, actually.
Right. King isn't just showing the new snake how to survive in the wild, it's teaching it the specific culture of the basket.
Notice what the author is doing mechanically here, though. He is stripping away the biological reality of the reptile and layering on high-level human virtues.
Like hospitality.
Exactly. We aren't just seeing a trained animal mimicking a trick for a reward. We are witnessing hospitality and profound empathy for a frightened stranger.
It's less like training an animal and more like passing down a sacred tradition. The older snake recognized critical problem. The charmer lost his partner, ventured out into the wild, recruited a replacement, and then gently initiated it into the human world.
And it works flawlessly.
It really does. The charmer takes them on the road, names the new snake King Little Green, and King learns the exact same routines as King without a single mistake. The charmer makes an absolute fortune off this new duo.
See, the author is ascribing a level of foresight, duty, and emotional intelligence to what he himself later calls a dumb creature.
Yeah.
It deliberately blurs the boundary between human ethics and animal instinct, making us question who really holds the monopoly on civilized behavior.
But, the physical reality of the world eventually catches up to them. Because the charmer kept King far past the standard size limit, the clock is ticking.
Yeah, you can't outrun biology forever.
After another 2 or 3 years of this incredibly profitable partnership, King has grown to a massive size. We're talking over 3 feet long, thick and heavy.
A huge snake.
When it sleeps, its coils fill the entire basket, leaving barely any room. The charmer is forced to face the pragmatic limits of his profession. He simply cannot carry his friend anymore.
Because the basket represents the controlled, ordered world of human civilization. It is a finite space. And King has physically outgrown that civilization.
The inevitable departure is a tragic necessity. So the charmer carries King deep into the Z Mountains. He prepares a beautiful, high-quality meal for his companion. He feeds it, blesses it, and delivers this incredibly poignant speech.
What does he say?
He says, "There is no feast that doesn't end." He tells King to go hide in a great valley, to survive and become a divine dragon, because it is simply too magnificent to stay confined in a tiny bamboo basket forever.
There is no feast that doesn't end. That is a foundational philosophical acceptance of the transient nature of life.
It's beautiful.
It is. Relationships, no matter how profound, must eventually yield to the passage of time and circumstance. The charmer isn't discarding a broken tool. He is reverently releasing a colleague to fulfill a higher natural destiny.
Yet King refuses to let the feast end quite so easily. It slithers away into the brush, but then stops. It turns back.
Oh, wow.
The charmer waves his hands, trying to shoo it away, but the snake ignores him. Instead, it slithers right past the charmer, goes straight to the basket, and thunks its head against the bamboo.
Because King is inside.
Right. Inside, the new snake is stirring. The charmer suddenly understands. He says, "Oh, you want to say goodbye to King?"
And the interaction that follows is just intensely intimate.
It really is. The charmer opens the lid, King emerges, and the two snakes cross their heads. They stick out their tongues, touching them together.
Wow.
The text observes that they look exactly as if they are whispering to one another, sharing some secret reptilian farewell. Then they slither off together into the deep woods, side by side.
Into the wild.
Yeah, the charmer assumes he has lost both of them. But a short time later, King comes quietly slithering back alone, climbs into the basket, and goes to sleep.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this entire departure sequence establishes a vital thematic shift.
How so?
Until this moment, King operated entirely within the human sphere, demonstrating loyalty, empathy, and economic value. But by leaving King behind and disappearing into the ancient forests of the Z Mountains, King is crossing back over the boundary.
Leaving the civilized world.
Exactly. It is abandoning the moral order of the basket and returning to the primal, violent, instinct-driven laws of nature.
And nature claims it completely, because the narrative skips forward several years. The charmer continues his trade, though no new recruit is ever as good as King, who is now growing incredibly thick, about the size of a child's arm.
But what about King?
Well, dark rumors start filtering out of the mountains, woodcutters report terrifying sightings. King has grown into a serpentine titan, It's described as being several feet long and as thick as a heavy bowl.
That's terrifying.
It has completely shed its civilized past. It's now an apex predator, chasing travelers and terrorizing the mountain passes. The sheer scale and aggression of the beast forces the locals to abandon that route entirely.
See, the philosophical implication here is that wildness is the default state of the universe. The divine dragon the charmer wished for has manifested, but without human morality to temper it, it has become a nightmare of pure destruction.
Exactly. So picture the scene. One afternoon, our snake charmer just happens to be traveling through this very region. Suddenly, the trees part, and this hulking apex predator rushes him. The author notes it moves like the wind. It's a terrifying, visceral image, a creature with the weight of a fallen tree aggressively hunting him down.
He must have been terrified.
The charmer drops his carrying pole and runs for his life. He can hear it gaining on him, the heavy thud of its body on the earth, right at his heels.
The ultimate test. The primal world is literally seconds away from consuming him.
But at the very last second, as he looks back in pure terror, his eyes catch a flash of color. A single red dot right on the forehead of the monster.
Oh, wow.
Recognition hits him like lightning. He stops dead in his tracks, turns to face the beast, and screams its name. King.
And the momentum of the entire natural world halts.
The beast freezes.
Yeah.
It raises its massive head lingering in the air and just stares at the trembling man. Then it lunges forward, not with fangs bared, but to wrap its body around him.
Like an embrace.
Yeah. It affectionately coils around the charmer, mimicking the exact trick it used to perform when it was a tiny 2-foot snake. But the mechanics of the situation have changed entirely.
Right, because the intention is pure, warm affection, but the sheer physics of the creature make it lethal.
It is so incomprehensibly heavy that it instantly crushes the poor charmer flat against the dirt. He is literally pinned under the earth-shaking weight of his old friend's love.
That's incredible.
He is struggling to breathe, forced to beg for mercy, crying out until the snake finally unwinds and lets him up.
You know, this interaction forces us to completely reevaluate the snake's earlier mentorship and behavior. This isn't just an animal remembering a feeding schedule.
It's deeper than that.
Much deeper. The instant it heard its name, the primal instinct to kill was completely overridden by the memory of a profound friendship. It possessed an innate moral compass all along.
Wow.
And that realization is exactly the weapon the author uses to set up his final, devastating critique.
Because right after letting him up, the snake reverts to its old habits. It bumps its heavy head against the charmer's basket, asking for Zhao King.
Of course.
The charmer opens it, and Zhao King, now quite large itself, emerges. The two massive serpents intertwine. The text says they wrap around each other like sticky candy, a pure expression of joy.
That's a great image.
The charmer realizes it's time. He tells Zhao King, I've wanted to let you go for a long time, and now you have a companion. He tells King to lead Zhao King away into the deep mountains. But before they depart, he issues a very specific, very stern command.
And this command is the philosophical linchpin of the story.
He looks at this terrifying apex predator and says, there is plenty of food in the deep mountains. Do not disturb the travelers and violate heaven's laws.
Heaven's laws.
And remarkably, the two giant snakes lower their heads, physically bowing in submission to his words. They turn, part the ancient trees, and vanish into the forest forever. And from that day on, the mountain roads are completely safe. Now, you mentioned earlier how Pusongling used these stories as a vehicle for critique. How does the concept of heaven's laws fit into a story about a giant reptile?
Well, in classical Chinese philosophy, heaven's laws, or Tianli, isn't just a basic list of rules saying, don't be bad.
Okay, what is it then?
It refers to the fundamental moral physics of the universe. It is the natural underlying order of all things, harmony, gratitude, right action. By commanding the snake not to violate heaven's laws, the charmer is demanding that the beast align itself with the moral universe.
And the terrifying wild monster actually listens.
It yields to good advice and suppresses its violent nature.
Which brings us to the final section of our sources, where the author actually stops telling the story and addresses the reader directly. He includes what is called the Yishishi, the commentary by the historian of the strange, and he absolutely unleashes on humanity.
It is a brilliant literary device. By calling himself the historian of the strange, Pusongling isn't just offering an opinion, he is recording a historical moral decree. And he uses the concept of reverse anthropomorphism. He isn't elevating the snake to human status. He is degrading the treacherous human far below the level of the beast.
He points out the absurdity of the situation. Snakes are culturally and biologically viewed as the lowest, most dumb and cold-blooded creatures on Earth.
Yeah.
Yet, as we just saw, they demonstrate profound nostalgia for an old friend.
They do.
When offered the medicine of good advice to stop terrorizing the roads, they yield to it as smoothly and effortlessly as turning a wheel.
They perfectly obey the fundamental moral physics we just discussed. Gratitude and loyalty are shown to be natural laws, accessible even to the lowest beasts in the dirt.
And then the author turns his gaze onto us. He delivers this scathing, incredibly dark analogy. He says, look at civilized humans. A human will share a 10-year arm-in-arm friendship with you. They will break bread with you, or perhaps be indebted to a benefactor who has saved their family from ruin for generations. And yet, the second you stumble, the second you fall down a well, what does your 10-year friend do? Did they throw down a rope? No. They pick up stones and throw them down at your head.
It's a brutal, unforgiving image.
He goes even further. He says that when you try to give these same humans good advice, when you try to guide them back to heaven's laws, they don't just ignore you, they become deeply offended.
They get defensive.
They grow hostile and treat their benefactors, the people trying to save them, as bitter enemies. The author forces us to look at the majestic, loyal monster in the woods, and then look at the so-called civilized man dropping rocks down a well.